camera on. Bring this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Looking for an adoption of the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to add an item to the in-camera discussion, 14D, advice from officials under FOIP section 24.
All right. We are looking for a motion to approve that addition, correct? All right. Any questions, concerns? Would you like to make that motion, Councillor Cutler?
Yep.
All right, moved by Councillor Cutler. Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler for a unanimous consent to add the following to the agenda. 14, in camera. D, advice from officials, FOIP section 24.
All right. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? Defeated. Moving on. Moving on, looking just for an adoption of the regular agenda as presented.
I can make that motion.
All right. Moved by Councillor Kettles. All those in favor? Passed. Looking for an adoption from the regular meeting minutes of February 27th, 2023. Any additions or changes?
I'll make a motion to adopt the regular meeting minutes as presented for February 27th.
All right. All those in favor? Passed. Moving on to our action items. Bylaw 1759, dog bylaw. Second and third readings. Abe?
So last council meeting, council approved first reading of amendments to the dog bylaw. There were updates to the definition of a leash, was specifying that owners had to have control of their dogs on an actual physical leash as opposed to an electronic leash. Because in the past, the electronic leashes, shock collar type leashes haven't been effective. We've had reports at the office. So we wanted to specify that owners needed to use actually a physical leash. There's some wording changes, minor wording changes to just clarify a couple of provisions. There's the addition of a replacement dog tag fee. People can now, dog owners can now actually, they don't have to come in physically to the office to buy a new dog tag every year. They can do it online. However, if they lose the tag, they'll have to pay for a replacement tag. So that's that new fee there. And as well, we were proposing a $5 increase in the spay or neuter rate from 15 to 20, and a $10 increase in the intact rate from $40 to $50. Those prices hadn't changed in many years. I think 2008 was the last time, sometime around there. At the last meeting, there was some conversation about increasing the fees even more for the intact rate. And so there are some comparisons and some different fees from other municipal bylaws. We've presented them here for your information. The bylaw is coming back to you in its original amended form with the only proposed $10 increase to intact fees. And so if council was interested in increasing the rate, you would just make a motion to amend the bylaw, specifying what you would like to increase the intact rate to. And then following that, if approved, then second and third readings.
All right. I'll open it up for discussion. Councillor Meister.
I was the one that proposed a higher intact fee. I did do some research and comparables to other communities, and I feel that if we were to take a more aggressive approach to raising it, more people would look at it and think that they would not be able to, or would not be able to not afford to spay and neuter their pets. They would look at the fees and think that it would be better to spay and neuter. And with the problems at the shelters all across the province, I think being more aggressive would be fitting for the situation, and if implemented, I would hope that more communities would also raise their intact fees. So I would like to make a motion to raise it to $70 for intact licensing fees.
Any other comments in regards to this? So I'm just pulling it up here. So you'd like to make that motion to amend the bylaw
Yes,
to
please.
$70? All right, so moved by Councillor Meister to amend the bylaw. Question?
Moved by Counselor Meister to amend bylaw number 1759, the dog bylaw, prior to second reading by increasing the fees to $70 for intact dogs per year.
Any further questions, comments, concerns in regards to this? All those in favor? Passed. Looking for a motion for second reading? Oh,
Did you
sorry.
ask for a post?
Pardon me?
Did you ask for a post
Opposed.
for the amendment? There was one opposed.
Oh, there was a post. I apologize, sorry.
That's all
I
right.
didn't see your hand there. So one opposed, motion passed. Looking then for a second reading in regards to bylaw 1759. Moved by Councillor Cutler. Question?
Moved by Counselor Cutler to give bylaw number 1759, the dog bylaw, second reading.
All right, any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Any opposed? One opposed, motion carried. Looking for a third and final reading for bylaw 1759.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Meister. Question?
Moved by Counselor Meister to give bylaw number 1759, the dog bylaw, third and final reading.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Any opposed? One opposed, motion carried.
I just wanted to clarify, I mentioned that they were online renewals. It's actually just an automatic renewal of the same existing number. It's not an online form, just for clarity purposes.
Perfect, thank you. All right, moving on to correspondence. Honorable Rebecca Schultz, Minister of Municipal Affairs, RE Budget 2023. Abe?
So a couple of pieces of correspondence here from the province regarding grant funding and budget, and I'll just a moment to scroll down to it here. So just the province, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, issuing correspondence regarding MSI and the federal gas tax. Federal gas tax allotments, a few discussion items on here about the provincial budget as well. I just call up my notes. So through the budget, the capital support for municipalities is being maintained, 485 million. That's what the province previously had said they would contribute through the MSI program. So that is consistent with what we already knew. However, the province is doubling the operating portion of that program. The town was supposed to get $36,000 in operating funding through that program. They'll be getting double, as will every other municipality in the province. So that helps out with the operating budget a little bit. There's also some conversation in here about the local government fiscal framework, which is replacing the MSI fund. And so currently they're going through the legislation, the province is, of ensuring that municipalities get 100% of the revenue decrease or increase to their MSI funding. It's based on provincial revenues, and any increase moving forward, the municipalities will get a percentage of that increase. And so it previously was 50% of the increase or decrease, and now it's going to be locked in at 100%. It says, based on most current financial data, that will be an increase of 12.6% funding across the province for 2025 and 2026. Additionally, the MSI operating or the LGFF funding will go back to normal. This year it was somewhere around 450 million for the province, 485 million. It's going to at least go back up to, in 2024, 2025, 722 million. Claire's Homes allocations in that are 236,000 for the federal gas tax, or MSI operating again will be 72,000, and MSI capital will be 404,000.
All right, open it up for discussion. Any comments in regards to this? Councillor Kettles.
So if I'm to understand this, then for some of this funding, the better the province does, the better we do. But the opposite of that is also true. So would we find ourselves maybe in a position where we had to create a bit of a hedge fund or something to weather those years when it goes down in funding? In municipal government, we all value, a surety of our funds, and I guess we're kind of in with it with the province on this one. I think we might have to, and maybe it's for a budget discussion, but I think we'd have to consider building some sort of a fund to pad the ups and the downsides of this anyway.
Okay. Any other? No?
It's probably a good conversation for our Audit and Finance Committee.
Right. Any other questions in regards to the Municipal Affairs Budget 2023? We'll take it for information at this time and move on. Number 3, correspondence. Honorable Rebecca Schultz, Minister of Municipal Affairs, Local Government Fiscal Framework, LGFFA.
Yeah, I kind of put those two into one there.
He's got it.
It's all good. Pretty much just capturing what a lot of what I just said, I think.
It'd be good to discuss it in the Audit and Finance then.
Yeah.
We'll take that for information if everyone's in agreement. Moving on, number 4, correspondence. Alberta Municipalities 2023 Provincial Budget Analysis. Go ahead.
Alberta Municipalities held a follow-up to the provincial budget announcement, and they've just provided a link. They normally have a pretty good turnaround right after the budget is announced. They have a webinar, and they kind of crunch numbers and present to elected officials and municipalities across the province the highlights of the budget. And so there's a link here where you can access, there's an analysis document. There should be a webinar up there at some point as well. So,
Okay. Open this up for discussion. Anyone has any questions, comments, concerns?
I attended it. It was good.
there was 30% increases to the CFEP, Community Facility Enhancement Program. So that's something to tell your community groups about that operate community public facilities. 30% increase to that. FCSS, I think, had 5% operational increases as well. A couple other items like that. And of course, they announced the doubling up of the MSI operating at that one as well.
We'll take that for information. Moving on, correspondence. Southgrow Regional Initiative, RE, Southern Alberta Economic Development Forum. Yep.
So there is an economic development forum coming up, being hosted by Southgrow. That's on March the 30th in Lethbridge. And so a couple of good speakers there, as you can see in the attachment. Different topics include investment attraction, waste to energy, agri-food tourism, regional collaboration, energy issues, labor issues, and broadband as well. So I believe someone, council, are already registered for that. If anybody else wants to register, we can do that.
Anyone else interested in attending this?
No, I'll be in Edmonton.
I had that all screwed up for the last 2 weeks.
That's why I was just like,
I still have the hockey tournament this weekend in my hand.
yeah? Sorry, man.
So you're not going? No. I'd consider going. I have to stick handle some stuff at work, but these are two pretty good speakers.
So-
Just want to connect with us?
I'll
Yeah.
connect with you guys
Okay.
offline.
Offline, it's very technical. All right, we'll take that for information right now. Moving on, correspondence. Royal Canadian Legion, Alberta Northwest Territories Command, commemorative history book. Babe?
So each year, the Legion issues a commemorative a history book, a military service recognition book, and the town normally purchases an ad, a quarter-page black and white ad in that book. Prices have gone up a little bit, I believe, $510 taxes in, but it hasn't gone up that much. So the book is shared widely throughout the different legions and throughout the province, recognizing the important role played by veterans and the Canadian Legion.
Open it up for discussion.
I'll make a motion to buy an ad.
Are you talking about the quarter page,
Yeah.
black and white?
510, Yeah.
All right. Moved by Councillor Cutler. Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to support the military service recognition book produced by the Royal Canadian Legion Campaign Office in the amount of $485.71 plus GST for 2024.
All right. Any further questions, comments, concerns in regards to this? All those in favor? Opposed? One opposed, motion carried. Moving on, request for decision, Culture Days letter of support. Babe?
So the Arts Society is looking to submit a grant for Alberta Culture Days, and they're looking to host a drama camp, ages 8 and up during the Culture Days in September. And so if they are successful with the grant, they'll be able to pay for the day camp, drama camp. It goes on for 2.5, 3 days, and then offer that service for free to participants.
Open it up for discussion.
I'll make a motion to write the letter of support for the Claresholm Art Society.
All right. Moved by Councillor Zimmer. Question?
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to write a letter of support towards the Claresholm Arts Society's application to the Alberta Cultural Days grant in order to host a drama camp for ages 8 and up during Alberta Culture Days in September 2023.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Passed. Moving on, information brief, Claresholm Housing Authority. Babe?
Yeah, back in September, council approved, our council made a motion, approved a motion to make some changes to the Claresholm Housing Authority's ministerial orders. The ministerial order established their organization as a housing authority, and also established that there would be a town councillor, or that the town rather had some involvement in the organizing of that board and the approving of that board. There were some changes to board recruitment at the provincial level, and they were becoming more, stringent. There was a matrix whereby each housing authority board had to qualify, have certain qualifications amongst their board members according to this matrix. Experience working with seniors, experience grant writing, experience with financial matters, a number of other requirements. And so the Housing Authority just requested that they be allowed to do the recruitment, and that they have the ministerial order amended accordingly to give them the ability to do that. So Council approved that. You can see the motion is here. And so the Claresholm Housing Authority has received notification that they have a new ministerial order that reflects the changes that they were requesting. And so they have just passed that information on to us. They intend to continue to have a town councillor on that board, and hope to always be able to find someone that helps them meet their criteria on the matrix, to recruit a councillor that helps them in that way. And we still have a councillor on that board right now, Councillor Meister.
Open this up for discussion. Councillor Cutler.
So with this matrix or whatever you're talking about,
You might as well.
so with the matrix and all that stuff, so the town has nothing to do with the board of the Claresholm Housing Authority anymore?
They
Has
don't.
nothing to do with the running of the Clares? So
No.
would that be an in-house or out-house? Committee.
That would be an external committee. Previously, what the town did was approved the membership of that board, right?
Right, so my question is, what is the criteria for an external board for the town of Claresholm? Why would we have a member sitting on a board that we have no fiscal responsibility for or any other responsibility for?
Well, sometimes community groups want a counselor at the table. That's really council's decision. At organizational meeting or prior to that, anytime, you can ask to review your board seatings or a specific board appointment and decide if you feel a council representative should be on that board. But a lot of times, that's how they'll originate. Either council will put a request out to a group, an external group, saying, hey, we'd like to have a councillor representative. We feel this is important. Your group oversees an important service in our community, or vice versa. A group or a committee or board might request that a councillor come and sit on, have a council representative, because they feel they could benefit from some collaboration with the council. So that would ultimately be a council decision, though, to continue having a representative on that board or not.
Any other questions in regards to this? Councillor Kettles.
Whatever we ultimately decide on that, I think it would be important, at least in the interim, to have a transitional and to keep our counselor in place for now until they get their legs under them, whatever their new paradigm looks like. If, existing counselor is willing to continue to sit.
I am, and it's also a committee that is kind of correlates with a bunch of other committees that I'm on, like the Social Center and the FCSS. There's different topics that overflow into each side of the bit, so it's a good working relationship, and I would hate to cut that one off.
Okay. Any other questions or comments in regards to this? We will take that for information at this time. Moving on to information brief, Cal Tire Replay Grant Program. Abe?
So the Centennial Park is actually scheduled for replacement in 2024 in the capital budget. And so normally we would actually apply to Alberta Recycling Management Authority for some assistance with the replacement of that park, specifically some rubber recycled tire fill for the surface. However, that program is, I believe it's on hold for this year and for next year. There is, however, a Cal Tire, it's called a replay program, and they do offer funds for similar projects. And so just an information brief that we went ahead and applied for that. Information here is that typically this fund provides grant funding in the amount of $18,000 to $20,000. Estimated cost for that base is $68,000, so we would have to find funding elsewhere as well if we went down that path. And the Lions Club is looking to assist the town, I believe, with a CFET grant for this year for assistance with the project. So we will be applying as well. At that time, we'll come to council. It'll come back to council for approval for a letter of support for that grant.
open it up for discussion. Questions? Go
oh,
ahead.
Is this like that? It's not just gonna be a bunch of loose rubber, is it? Like, instead of gravel, it's now chunks of rubber? Is it all like one solid, like, big old rubber pad?
I think it'd be a solid rubber pad.
Just like the new one at the school.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
That's what they use for theirs too, is the replay grant.
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions in regards to this? Take it for information. Moving on, information brief. Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Abe?
So about a month and a half ago or so, council received a correspondence item from the Canadian Federation of Business. This organization was releasing a report, a 2023 municipal business report, and council passed a motion that administration look into the report and provide some summary of the report back to council. And so the Economic Development Officer has reviewed it and provide some items or some recommendations from that report. Some of the highlights include recommendations around municipal taxes on business. Feedback from small businesses in the report suggested that 70% of small businesses think their municipal government misunderstands cost pressures they face. 73% identified municipal property taxes as the top area for improvement to help businesses succeed. And business property tax is the fourth most harmful cost to businesses after insurance, gasoline, and utilities. So the recommendations would be that municipalities halt tax and cost increases for small business, and that municipalities engage in sustainable spending practices by limiting year-over-year operating spending growth to no more than inflation and population growth. The town does have very comparable non-residential tax rates, and council is working hard to control spending, and by all intents and purposes, the town of Claresholm does have good expenditure per capita comparisons to neighboring municipalities and even across the province. That's not to say that more can't be done. That's just a rough point that the town is doing well in these areas. Some recommendations about red tape reduction, about business licensing, business renewals, making those processes easier. For example, online applications. Anybody from council have anything to add to this?
We can open it up for discussion and see if anyone has anything to add to it. Councillor Schlossberger.
Yeah, I don't understand how we're supposed to improve our community's infrastructure. How we're supposed to improve our community's infrastructure without taxes. Doesn't happen. Our infrastructure, sewer, water, roads, sidewalks, schools will fall apart. And if that happens, you no longer have a community. Thank you.
Any other comments in regards to this? Councillor Kettles.
I think a lot of this comes through to maintaining and increasing our communication with our business group. To Councillor Schlossberger's point, I don't think any business member of the community wants us to stay stagnant and not replace things that need to be replaced and enhance things that need to be enhanced. But I think it's incumbent on council and the administration to well communicate those needs to the business community and frankly everybody else. And I think we'd get broad buy-in if we're making good decisions along those lines.
Councillor Schlossberger.
Over the last year, I've had several conversations with many business owners in Claresholm. They understand. They know they can't have a business if they don't have infrastructure in the ground and roads and sidewalks. So they understand.
It, over the last 6 years, I think we found that there is a strong degree of communication put out. It's comes down to the desire to, A, believe what the actual costs are by the community members and the businesses, and the understanding of what the operating costs of the town are as a business itself. We know we sit through budgeting times and through understanding the costs as a council and try to minimize our tax increases to at or under inflation. And you can only carry that on for so long. So when we have a business community that actually thinks that they're not getting their value for dollar, it tends to be a mistrust of the actualities of the situation. And you can communicate that as much as you want. If people aren't willing to accept the facts and the actual truths of that situation, they'll be there to be the 70% that challenge the answers.
Any other conversation in regards to this?
No, other than what I was reading, I was thinking next time we have budget talks and talking about taxes and stuff like that, I was thinking maybe looking back at how we had our percentages for residential and businesses and seeing if you could almost, I know it's going to hurt some, but drop the businesses as an incentive to bring new businesses in to get more tax dollars to help relieve the offsets, but that's a completely different meeting. But I'd like to keep this in mind when we do talk about that.
Absolutely. All right.
And council has recently asked administration in 2023 and beyond to be connecting with the businesses more. And so we'll be able to reach out with this study in mind, and that's the whole point of reaching out, is to ask them how the town can help them, and that opens up dialogue. And so that is in the works this year, business visits, surveys, or face-to-face conversations with business owners. So.
Perfect. Anything else? We'll take that for information. Moving on, information brief, council committee reports. Would anyone like to expand on their report?
I don't think any of us
No, I don't think they did.
report.
This one, no. That's your areas I'm looking for. I'm like, no, we didn't. So we'll just take that for information. Move on for information brief, council resolution status. Gabe?
Yeah, any questions on anything on that item? These are just past resolutions from council.
Any questions? All right, well, I'll take that for information. And 13, adoption of information items. Moved by Councillor Cutler. All those in favor? Passed. Moving on, looking for a motion to go in camera for A, land FOIP section 16, B, advice from officials, FOIP section 24, and C, advice from officials, FOIP section 24.
I'll make the motion to go into in-camera.
Moved by Councillor Meister. All those in favor? Passed. In camera at 7:34 p.m. Camera off. Right. Looking for a motion to come out of camera at 8:04 p.m. Moved by Councillor Schlossberger. All those in favor? Passed. Looking for a motion to accept the offer for Tamarack lots.
I'll make a motion to accept the offer for the Tamarack lots.
Moved by Councillor Zimmer. Question?
Moved by Counselor Zimmer to accept the offer in the amount of $81,000 plus GST for lots 66, 68, and 69, Block 118, Plan 8010781, with the condition to reacquire if permit is not issued within 1 year.
Any further questions, comments, concerns in regards to this? All those in favor? Motion passed. Looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:04 PM. Moved by Counselor Carlson. All those in favor? Passed. Camera, meeting adjourned, 8:05, camera off.